Hey, Cash! Hi!
The first time I saw Cash, he was a trembling, wet bundle of fur, barely clinging to life in the tall grass of our farm. My husband Tom and I were checking fences that morning, wandering into a corner of the property we rarely visited. It was quiet, just the hum of cicadas and the crunch of our boots. But then a sharp bray pierced the air, followed by stomping hooves. We froze, exchanged a glance, and sprinted toward the sound. There, in a patch of overgrown weeds, was one of our donkeys, Daisy, pacing wildly. At her feet was a newborn foal, so tiny he looked like a stuffed toy. But Daisy wasn't nuzzling him or licking him clean like a mother should. Instead, she reared up, her hooves slashing dangerously close to his fragile body. My heart lurched, so I shouted, waving my arms to distract her, while Tom dove in, scooping the foal into his arms. Daisy snorted, eyes wild, but she backed off just enough for us to see the umbilical cord still dangling from the foal's belly. Tom pulled out his pocket knife, cut it clean, and we ran, the foal cradled against his chest, back to the house. Inside, we laid him on a pile of blankets in the living room. He was so weak, his little ribs heaving with shallow breaths. I knelt beside him, stroking his damp fur, whispering, "You're gonna be okay, little guy." But doubt gnawed at me. We'd never raised a newborn animal before, let alone a donkey rejected by its mother. Could we keep him alive? So we warmed some goat's milk, rigged up a bottle, and gently tilted it to his lips. He latched on, sucking greedily, and for the first time, his tiny ears twitched with life. We named him Cash, after Johnny Cash, because he was our little man in black with a spark that refused to quit. That first night was a blur of worry and wonder. Cash slept in a cardboard box by our bed, but every hour one of us was up, feeding him, checking his breathing. His squeaky brays echoed through the house, so fragile yet so determined. I lay awake, listening to Tom's soft snores and Cash's faint rustles, my mind racing. What if he didn't make it? But by morning, he was wobbling to his feet, nudging my hand for more milk. His big, dark eyes locked onto mine, and something shifted in me. This wasn't just an animal we were saving. He was ours, like a child we hadn't expected but already loved. Raising Cash indoors wasn't part of any plan. We had dogs, chickens, even a couple of goats, but a donkey in the house? It sounded crazy. But Daisy refused to accept him, braying angrily whenever we tried to reintroduce them through the fence. So we turned our living room into Cash's nursery. We laid down old rugs, set up a corner with blankets, and kept a stockpile of bottles ready. At night, he'd follow us to the bedroom, his tiny hooves clacking on the hardwood. He'd curl up on a mat by Tom's side of the bed, his soft snores blending with the hum of the ceiling fan. It was strange, but it felt right, like he'd always belonged there. As the days turned into weeks, Cash came alive. He wasn't just surviving, he was thriving, but his energy was a whole new challenge. He'd gallop through the house, his legs still wobbly, knocking over lamps and skidding into furniture. I'd laugh, chasing him, but sometimes I'd panic. What if he hurt himself? So we baby-proofed the house, padding sharp corners and blocking off stairs. Cash didn't care. He'd prance up to our golden retriever, Max, and do a little kick like he was showing off. Max would just yawn, but Cash would bray triumphantly, his tail flicking like a metronome. He was a performer, always wanting us to watch, to cheer him on. What got me most was how Cash saw us. He'd trail me from room to room, his nose bumping my leg if I stopped too long. If I sat on the couch, he'd rest his head on my lap, his warm breath tickling my skin. But it wasn't just attachment, it was trust. He'd been born into chaos, rejected by his mother, yet he chose to love us, to believe we'd keep him safe. That hit me hard. Some nights, feeding him his
Hi,
bottle
Mr.
under the kitchen
Cash.
light, I'd feel tears prick my eyes. How could something so small carry so much heart? We made sure Cash knew his roots, too. Every few days, we'd take him to the fence line to see Daisy. She'd calm down some, and Cash would bounce toward her, braying like he was saying, "Look at me, Mom." She'd sniff him through the bars, her ears twitching, but she never fully warmed to him. It stung to watch, but Cash didn't seem to mind. He'd race back to us, kicking up dust, his joy unbroken. So we became his world, and he became ours. Living with Cash changed us. He wasn't just a pet. He was a lesson in resilience, in loving without conditions. But it wasn't always easy. Neighbors raised eyebrows, joking about our house donkey. Friends would visit expecting a barnyard mess, only to find Cash napping by the fireplace, clean and content. I'd shrug and say, "He's family," but deep down I worried about the future. Would he outgrow the house? Could we give him the life he deserved? So we started planning a bigger pen, a space where he could roam but still come inside. Cash wasn't just a donkey. He was proof that love could rewrite the rules. One morning, about 3 months in, I woke to Cash standing by the bed, nudging my arm with his nose. His bottle was empty, but he wasn't hungry. He just stared at me, his eyes soft and steady, like he was saying, "Thanks for choosing me." I hugged his neck, his fur warm against my cheek, and whispered, "We chose each other, buddy." That moment sealed it. No matter what came next, bigger pens, new challenges, or curious stares, Cash was home. Looking back, I see how Cash rewrote our story. We thought we were saving him, but he saved us too. He brought laughter to quiet mornings, purpose to sleepless nights, and a kind of love we didn't know we needed. Every day he reminds me that life doesn't have to make sense to be beautiful. It just has to be lived, fully and fearlessly, like a little donkey galloping through a living room, chasing joy. Thank you for watching. If you like the story, feel free to comment, like, and subscribe. See you in the next video.